In news tonight, a serial killer today arraigned for the murder of 12-year-old Adriel Moxie. Horror for a family and witnesses as a home and business goes up in flames. And opposition leader Michael Pintard making some demands on the Davis administration. Details on these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast. Good evening, everyone. Hope your week's off to a great start. I'm Bahama Williams, and it's certainly a pleasure to have you with us. The man in custody for the gruesome murder of Adriel Moxie appeared before the courts today. He's facing a murder charge for Adriel's death after he led police to her school bag. Talk of the suspect confessing to a series of crimes across the country erupted over the weekend, and now today, officers are saying that information has been confirmed.
We have spoken to him in connection with several matters. He has shared information with us. We have looked into that. We have taken him into Grand Bahama as well. We have looked into those matters. At this time, there is insufficient evidence for us to charge him with those matters. However, we'll be continuing our investigation into those matters, and hopefully in a short time we'll be able to bring about some conclusion as related to those investigations.
The police are currently looking into 4 matters on Grand Bahama, and officers told reporters that the suspect is being cooperative.
So we have obtained specimens that we are sending off. That they should be on their way. I would say now though that based on our investigation and during the time of our investigation, he has provided additional information that we are satisfied that he has been able to direct us additionally into areas and directed us, and we have been able to locate some physical evidence that has connected us to that particular scene.
Little Adriel was found on the 20th of November dumped in bushes near her Faith Avenue home, and police confirmed that she was strangled to death and sexually assaulted. She was only 12 years old. Also appearing in court today was a 20-year-old male who was arraigned for that Burnett Road shooting incident that left 2 dead. The shooting took place on Saturday, December 21st around 9 a.m. at a barbershop, shaking the shop's patrons and leaving friends and family of the victims distraught. At a press briefing held this morning, Chief Superintendent in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department, Anton Ramming, told reporters that the male suspect is facing charges of abetment. He also confirmed that the suspect, who was actually responsible for the shooting, is still at large. Meanwhile, the suspect is in custody for abetment, continues to assist with the investigation. A Sunday afternoon gas explosion that rocked New Providence has left 7 people injured, according to police. Police officers rushed to the scene of an explosion that occurred shortly after 4:20 p.m. at a residence on Blue Hill Road, a scene that captured the attention of many bystanders. Demaris Umbrister, Chief Fire Officer of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Fire Services, addressed the media in the thick of the chaos.
A fire person would have received information of a reported explosion here in the area of Blue Hill Road, opposite Commonwealth Bank. We would have initially responded with 2 units. Our units would have arrived on scene within 7 minutes. Upon their arrival, they would have met what you can see here, a single slurry stone structure that would have received extensive damages. And some adjacent nearby buildings would have also received damages. What we can say at this time is that a fuel truck, an LPG truck, they were fueling an LPG tank when the explosion occurred. As a result of that, some 9 persons would have received injuries, and they were trying.
Reports state that 25-year-old male who was servicing the home observed a clog in the gas line. The truck driver managed to shut off the gas truck's main gas line to prevent further damage, but sustained severe burns to his entire body. In addition, 5 occupants of the residence, including a 6-year-old boy, sustained severe burns. All victims were transported to the hospital by EMS. Since then, the Public Hospitals Authority released an update on the victims' conditions, advising that 3 adults remain in critical condition while 2 are listed as stable. One child is in guarded condition while 2 others are listed as stable. The Prime Minister says that all available resources will be provided to support those affected. With the new year rolling in just a matter of hours, opposition leader Michael Pintard has made his party's expectations for the Davis administration clear. During an interview with media officials at the 2025 Boxing Day parade, Pintard sought to share what he'd like to see this current administration improve on in the new year.
There is a need for the government to take another look at the investment legislation that was put in place. We believe that there has to be a repeal of that piece of legislation, and so the government has to find a way to make sure that Bahamians have a clear sense of the Sovereign Wealth Fund and how they can benefit from it. So that's one of the things that we believe that in the new year the government ought to take a look at. The second thing is the government should go back and look at the pieces of legislation relative to Family Island development. You would recall that the government put in place a piece of legislation that says taxes collected in the Family Island will in fact stay there. We have not seen any progress in that regard, and they ought to fashion a piece of legislation that assists in driving revenue into the Family Island.
Pintard also highlighted a number of legislative initiatives for young people that have yet to be solidified.
There's a need for us to pass the youth policy compendium of legislation. There are a series of legislation that's been on the table for the last 20 plus years related to youth empowerment, and this is something the government can bring to force. Bahamians are suffering in terms of the high cost of living. One of the things we believe this administration can do is to remove the VAT of breadbasket items. That will provide some degree of relief. Secondly, in terms of food security, they need to make more resources available to small and medium-sized businesses and farmers and fishers who can produce a larger quantity of food to take the pressure of Bahamians.
Pintard says the Free National Movement is ready to return to Parliament and continue to hold the Davis administration accountable on behalf of the Bahamian people. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us. More of the latest news after this break.